All right. So today's Power Lunch demo series is going to be focusing on how to send quotes to your customers that you can't resist. So my name's Duncan Leggett. I'm an account executive here at Paperless Parts. If you're joining us from Texas, you probably have seen my face or shaken my hand because I do cover the Texas region for Paperless. And today, like I said, we're going to really focus on how to send quotes your customers can't resist by using a couple different features throughout Paperless Parts. We'll be walking through email templates so that when you are sending quotes to customers, you can have designated templates for certain types of customers, your new customers, your repeat customers, those, customers that you have that love-hate relationship with. You can have different versions of that. So we'll kind of cover that. We'll also dive into our digital quote and how to ensure that you are sending quotes to your customers that stand out from the noise, and provide you a better shot at winning the order by enabling you not to just have your quotes only reflect pricing, but also some fun things with dynamic lead times as well. And I'll also kind of talk a little bit about our centralized CRM. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into Paperless and we can kind of get this started. So what we have here is a quote that I have already kitted out. I've already built all my pricing logic into it, and I'm ready to send it to my customer. If you're curious on how to build quotes in Paperless, you can refer to the other Power Lunch episodes that we've had on those topics. So my next step is I have these 3 line items. I'm going to finalize and send out my quote. So I'm going to click this blue button up here that's called Finalize My Quote. And what's going to happen is this is where I'm actually going to be able to start sending quotes from Paperless directly to my customer. What's really important is it actually lets you know if quote items are not complete, if I'm missing lead times or missing material costs. It's going to warn me to stop me from sending a quote out to my customer that might not be completed. I'm going to just confirm this for now, but it's just helpful to note that it's something that kind of catches your eye. What you'll see here is now our email templates, which I talked a little about, and there's different flavors that you can use. So for Marissa, I noticed that in my notes that, Marissa and her company are kind of that pain in the ass customer, if you will, that PETA customer that I know every shop has. And they're the ones that we're trying to quietly fire. So when it comes to sending quotes their way, I keep it really simple. I say, here's your quote, there it is. Comparative to something like my new customers, where I want to be a little bit more flavorful with them, right? I want to say, thanks for requesting a quote. Here's our digital quote. If you have any questions, here's my contact information. And, guess what? We also do some other processes besides this, simple turnaround prototype parts. We do early design consultation or DFN feedback. I'm giving more of a flavor to my customer. So email templates are a way where you can quickly bucket different groups of customers into formats. So that way you can kind of pick and choose how you want to have your writing done for you. What I see today is a lot of customers just quickly sending an email to their customer that just has, just the pricing for the parts that they ordered or a quick PDF print. And what we're trying to do with this email template is enable you as the shop to, really give your best foot forward when you're dealing with your customers. A lot of times your customers are not getting to see inside the shop. They're not getting to see how hard you're working on building their parts or how grand your facility is. So the only way that they're viewing your shop is sometimes through these email requests that they get from you and your confirmation of them. So we want to make sure that this is kind of showcasing your shop in the best light. And we do this by ensuring that you can write a detailed email to them without spending the time typing it all over the time again and again, because if I'm sending 100 quotes out of Paperless, writing this email 100 times would take a long time. So same thing with repeat customers. Maybe, I want to select a different template for repeat customers that keeps it more short and sweet because they already know a lot about us. This is kind of all that aspect of it. To access how to create these templates, feel free to go into your settings tab, which will be in Paperless, and you can scroll down to the bottom and you'll find email templates. And that's kind of where you create these. Then the next step is I'm actually going to send this quote out to my customer. So this is a new customer. I'm going to come in here and send it out. And what's going to happen is now I've just sent that quote out to my customer, and we get brought to a kind of CRM functionality of our paperless parts dashboard. And this is a way where I can start managing my quotes. So I just sent a quote out. It was living in my draft inbox, and now it's in my outstanding inbox. So these are all the 101 quotes that I have sent out to my customer. And what your buyer receives in that digital quote, if I go to my email, I sent it to myself, I can actually see this is exactly the email that I just sent my buyer. So I'm now Marissa looking at the quote that I received from Blood Orange Machine. And I can see that I have a digital quote here, and I also have a PDF copy. I'm going to jump into our digital quote, the next topic of conversation, because this is where you can kind of stand out from the crowd. Again, most shops I talk to either just send an email that has, the cost of their parts listed out in a table format, or some sort of PDF for advanced shops. But what we offer with the digital quote is a way to really stand out from your buyers and make buyers think of you as a unique shop, because not many people have this ability. So you open up the page and you instantly are greeted with this kind of logo of what your shop is. For me, it's Blood Orange Machine. So I have my logo up here and I have my details of where my business is. But as a buyer, I can also start seeing the parts that I'm going to be actually ordering. Funnily enough, sometimes buyers can't see these parts. They just see the part numbers, or they just see the file name they sent you. And sometimes they kind of forget what they're ordering, or they might be ordering the wrong part number. So you're also helping your buyer, making sure they're ordering the right parts, instead of what just happens sometimes, buyers send you the part, you quote it, they order it from you, and then they're like, oh shoot, this isn't the part I wanted, like weeks after you actually made it for them. So this has helped everyone kind of stay on the same page and ensure that they're ordering the correct things. You'll also see it's really easy to start adding notes and additional charges to your quote as well. I can see over here that I've made some notes to my customer around that my lead times do account for material and outside service vending, and that there is additional pricing for tooling that will be $1,500 because there's a deep hole on this part and I might need some extra tooling that I don't have in-house to attack it. What's really interesting, though, is the idea of dynamic lead times, which we'll see over here in the right-hand corner. So you'll see that we have our quantity breaks listed, different lead times, and different unit prices and total prices for this quote. So generally, what I see shops do is they get a request for a quote from their buyer, and they have quantity breaks, 1, 5, 10, and 50, and they just have a single price for each quantity break. And what happens there is now you're only giving the buyer the opportunity to choose your shop based on price alone. You're only competing on price. And when that happens, it becomes a price war with every other shop. What a lot of shops that utilize paperless parts have been realizing is the idea that if they start accessing dynamic lead times and start competing not just on price, but also timing, it could help win an order. Because a buyer might not care that it's $1,300 to get it in 25 days, but they just need it in 25 days because they have a project deadline coming up. So by giving your buyer the ability to select dynamically which lead times they want, gives you a higher chance of actually winning the order. And this also opens up a lot of functionality when it comes to really using paperless parts as your front office strategy, right? With the idea of being able to assign different lead times and having different pricings for those lead times, you can start playing around and seeing how different strategies work for your shop. So for example, one strategy that I have utilized is I have a standard lead time of 30 days. And this is my standard pricing for the quantity breaks. I can see for quantities 1, 5, 10, and 50, I have 30 days listed. But I also have the ability for the buyer to buy it in 25 days. And I did, a markup of around 25%. Then I also have an option that's kind of my crazy lead time option, right? Which is the idea that they can actually get the part from me in 5 days, wiping 4 weeks off the lead time for a 500% increase in pricing. And I know this kind of seems pretty ridiculous if you're not used to using dynamic lead times or expedites. But what happens is now my buyer at least knows that that's an option. And what I have seen at my shop, and what I've seen at shops that have utilized this functionality, is that maybe I don't win this order. Maybe it goes to my competitor because of pricing, because they had a better relationship with a customer, or because they could offer a better lead time, whatever it might be. But then my buyer orders those parts from this my competitor, and they're going through the process, and 5 days before they're supposed to get their parts, they get an email saying, hey, we've messed up and we can't get your parts on time anymore. And now the buyer, the OEM, is running around trying to figure out how they can get the parts because they have a schedule to fill. And what's going to happen is they're going to remember that you actually had the ability for them to order parts within 5 days. So they're going to be able to go back to your quote or request a quote from you again, and they're going to be happily selecting that 5-day lead time for this crazy price because they need the parts quickly, and you're the only shop that's offering it. So I'm not saying that this is the strategy you need to use at your shop. Each shop is different and each shop wants to utilize different strategies, but I'm just showing you the ways that you can use a function like our dynamic lead times to curate your strategies for your shop going forward. If you're a current customer of Paperless Parts and you're not utilizing this feature, I would say please get in touch with either myself or our team. I would say that you are missing out if you're not using this. A lot of customers today have said that from this feature, they're able to generate enough expedited revenue to actually pay for Paperless Parts, the full year subscription, within a few months just from using this kind of functionality. So please, again, if we're not using this, get in contact with our team. Going on though, from here, right, we can see that beyond kind of our dynamic lead times that we have listed for our different parts, we also have our quote notes and terms and conditions. And again, this is just giving our buyer the ability to have a better kind of interaction with our business comparative to the standard email that I normally would send. If I so wish, once I select what, as a buyer, the parts that I want, I can actually go in and check out right through Paperless. What's really beneficial to my buyers, again, as buyers get younger, they start looking more and more like me, that are more greenhorns, if you will. They are so used to buying things off of Amazon, using Netflix, using any sort of like online subscription. And so this is very familiar. You're improving the buying process for your customer and making it easier for them to purchase parts from you and making it a better experience on their end. So if you so wish, you can have it so they can submit purchase orders through Paperless and get tagged directly into your account, or even have the option to pay by credit card. Because some buyers have a credit card where if the order's under $10,000, they can swipe it and you can get paid, instantaneously rather than waiting, net 90 days to get paid. So having the ability, again, to have different payment methods could also be pretty advantageous. Let's go back to Paperless Parts though for a second, and let's say that you sent out the quotes to your customer, and now we want to focus on kind of how to use our CRM functionality when it comes to following up with these buyers and ensuring that I'm not letting quotes slip through the cracks. So in Paperless, we have our quote dashboard, and right now I'm looking at our outstanding quotes, which are quotes that I've sent through Paperless that have been delivered to my buyer that have not yet either been accepted or lost. They have not responded to me yet. Caveat here, if you are a shop that isn't sending quotes through email and you're needing to send quotes, through a secure portal to certain aerospace customers or defense customers, we do have a different method for helping you out there. So again, just come in and talk with our sales team about it, and we can run through this more personalized for your shop. But for shops that are sending emails, what happens is you're firing through a lot of quotes, and most of the time, most shops are not following up with customers. They send the quote and they just hope and pray that they get the order in. Because if I'm looking at this and I'm the one guy that's estimating and needing to go out and do sales, it's kind of intimidating to see an inbox of 101 quotes that I could follow up on. I'm most likely going to push this off or just never get around to it. And that's really detrimental when you think about how to increase your win rates or increase new business, is the idea of if I can deliver fast quotes to my customers and do diligent follow-up, I will, one, showcase that I actually care about my customers before I even win their orders, but then two, make it so that potentially I get a second bite at that apple, right? If I have a quote that is expiring in December and I can see that my buyer has been opening up my quote a ton, but I'm not getting a response from them, maybe that's an indication I should be picking up the phone or sending them an email and saying, hey, did you receive my quote? Do you have any questions around it? Because maybe they tell me, yeah, your material price is way off, or yeah, your lead times aren't matching up with some of the other the quotes I got. So it gives you the ability to take the second bite at the apple and gives you a second chance at winning that order. But to do that, you need insight. So what we provide with Paperless is a cool way where we can break down all the quotes you sent out and start filtering by certain criteria to make it a little bit more manageable to actually follow up with the right customers. So what we'll do here is I'm a salesperson and I want to follow up with customers that are actually checking out my quote that I know are interested, but the quote, so that's what I'm going to do first. Before, it would be really hard to kind of filter that in. I would have no way of viewing if my customers are looking at my quote. But with Paperless Parts' Smart Quote, we can actually come in here and be able to filter down by when the customer last viewed these quotes. So I'll come in and say, I want to look at all the quotes I've sent out that have been last viewed in the previous, we'll do 24 hours really. So we'll switch this to hours. And now what's going to happen is that 101 quotes just went down to 14. I'm a really happy salesperson because now I don't have to spend my whole entire afternoon following up with people. I can just spend the next hour doing it. So now I can go through and I can see, okay, these are all the quotes that have been viewed recently. Maybe I should go and pick up the phone and I can quickly see this is a big order. It's been viewed 3 times in the last couple of days, it looks like. So obviously this buyer, Marissa, is looking at my quote. So I can either resend it to them as like a little nudge, or I can just pick up the phone or write an email to quickly go and talk to that buyer and say, hey, do you have any questions? Right? Again, making it easier to do your follow-up. These filters do not just apply to last viewed. You can get even more granular if you wanted to look at quotes that, may be expiring soon and you want to kind of give a last ditch effort. You can come in here and say, okay, I only want to look at quotes. And let me get rid of this filter real quick. Let me go back to my 101 quotes. And now I want to look at only quotes that are going to be expiring in the next, 3 days. So these are quotes that I most likely maybe aren't going to win because I haven't been responded to yet. I just want to see there actually is none that are responding in the next 3 days. So, because I had 2 filters on. So give me a second. I'll just come in and say, the quote has been viewed in the previous, 20 days and that it expires in the next 3. Again, nothing. So maybe I'm done and I don't need to worry about any quotes that are expiring. But I think the point stands that I can start filtering down by certain criteria to actually get a better view of my accounts. Beyond this kind of functionality of following up with customers, I've also heard a lot of shops saying they wish they have a way to figure out, why they are losing business when they don't win an order. So what I can do is I can actually come in here and I can actually start looking at things that when quotes are expiring by filtering down my list. And I can see that I have a couple quotes that are expiring or that I've expired today, right? Or tomorrow, I should say, the 11th. Maybe I go through and I start calling these buyers. And when I do, maybe for this company, I call Danny Young. He's viewed my quote a couple times last month and I sent it to him on the 11th and never really got a response back from him. I call him and I say, hey, I know we're most likely not going to win your order. I was just kind of curious what I could do differently next time to help win your business. Where was I missing out? And maybe Danny tells me that, yeah, you guys, your price was great, but the lead times that you offered didn't fit our schedule. So I can come in and I'll go to the quote that Danny sent and I'll quickly navigate to our internal notes here that are only internal to me and not seen by my customer. And I'll quickly make a note saying, lost reason was that our lead times were too long. And now I have a recorded effort of this quote. If I'm ever looking back at it in the future, or if I'm ever looking at Danny's account to see all the quotes we send him, I can starting to see patterns around why we are losing quotes for this particular customer. And if I go into my lost category and mark that quote as lost, I can actually start seeing the notes reasons as well. So this is a different customer that I worked with that said the lost reason was similar, that we went with a competitor because they offered faster lead times. So now I have a way to kind of track this knowledge and use it to kind of prioritize where I should be working on my shop if I start seeing patterns arises around pricing or lead times or whatever it else might be when it comes to losing quotes. And just real quickly, I forgot to do it, so I'll just do it right now. But when I am looking at Danny, right, I made the note to mark it as lost. I would just come into actions and click mark this quote as lost. So that way it gets tracked of, hey, this quote is actually in fact lost. That is, the kind of quick and dirty of sending out quotes using our quote templates, how to utilize the digital quote to actually increase your win rates and get more customers to want to buy from you, and then using our CRM functionality to follow up with quotes. So I see that we have a couple questions and answers. I'm going to getting phone calls left and right, but I'm going to take some questions and answers now. So if you want to use the chat, please go ahead and I'll go through and look at some of the questions. So give me a second. I'll stop sharing my screen. I see a few different questions. So one of the questions here was, can you query the loss reasons and see it in analytics? Today, we do not have a way to do drop-down list for lost reasons, which I'm assuming your question is around. This is the idea of when I do lose a quote, can I quickly go in and see, what percentage of quotes are lost because of lead times versus pricing? We don't have that functionality today, but I did do that workaround step where I was showing you how to write those notes and at least keep track of it in a broader sense. And I'll wait a little bit longer for some other questions that might pop up if people are interested. And if there is no other questions, then let me share my screen. I would all encourage you guys to actually come and check out our next webinar series. So we will be doing December 1st. We will be working on ITAR and CMMC compliance. That session is going to be led by our CTO, Scott Sawyer. So again, that's on December 1st. If for any reasons you want to reach out to me or my team to discuss paperless parts more in depth for your specific shop, or how to utilize the digital quote or any of the CRM functionality I was talking about, my email is listed here and my personal number is here as well. So you can feel free to send me a text, send me an email, get in touch with me any way you wish. But I think that's going to be all if there's no other questions, which, Allie, I'm not seeing any. So let me know if you see any as well.
Nope, I don't see any on my end.
Awesome. So thanks again, guys, for joining, and we'll see you next time.